Are we gonna get anyone in the live tonight? Or is it just gonna be me? Hey, we got someone. All right. Welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson. And welcome to the recap, the live recap for One Championship Empower, the first all-ladies event put on by a major worldwide mixed martial arts promotion. It's a good day of fights, everyone. A good day of fights. I had to watch partially while at work, so pretty distracted. I just got done watching all but one of the MMA fights. Again, had to rewatch them all over. That's why I started the chat a couple minutes late, but we're going to go ahead and recap these fights. And listen, fanboys, haters, people that are already butthurt, sore winners, sore losers, you're probably going to have a bad night tonight. Because guess what? I do not care about anybody's feelings. I know that there are some sore winners tonight, and I know that there are a lot of sore losers tonight. And guess what? I do not care about your feelings. I'm going to give my honest opinions. Zazakita says, what's up? What's up, Zazakita? Becoming a regular viewer. All right, so first up. So we had 6 women's MMA bouts, along with a kickboxing bout, a Muay Thai bout, and a kickboxing bout. I actually missed both of those because of work, but I tried to watch all of the MMA bouts. So first up, Mei Yamaguchi and Julie Meza-Barba, and Meza-Barba defeated Yamaguchi by unanimous decision. So here's the thing. Watching this fight, I still can't tell if Julie Meza-Barba is truly any good or not. What I can tell you is that Mei Yamaguchi has definitely lost a step. I mean, she is slowed down. She is not thrown with any volume, and she is very hesitant to throw anymore. I mean, all she's trying to do is look for an opening for the big right hand, and that's about it. That's all she's doing anymore. I mean, let's see, how old is Mei? She's 38 years old, so she's on the wrong side of her 30s. She's closing in on 40, and she did not look good at all. Meza-Barba looked okay, but I think most of her advantages came from the size and the fact that, unlike Mei, who didn't want to throw at all, Meza-Barba wasn't afraid to throw. So the jury for me is still out on Julie Meza-Barba because, well, I can definitely say that Mei Yamaguchi is slowing down with age, and her style just is not keeping up, particularly on the feet. It's still not really enough for me to tell if Meza-Barba is honestly that good. I mean, Mei is good, was good. I never thought she was a particularly great fighter. I always thought she was a good fighter, but not great. And now she is just obviously slowing down. So the jury for me is still out on Meza-Barba, but she is now an alternate for the Grand Prix. So if one of the winners for tonight can't continue, then it seems like she's going to get slotted in to replace them. So we'll have to see. First opinion, I think Mei's opponent is really decent, and the way she dispatched Mei tells me she is a threat. Says Zazakita. Also says Julie did it in a cleaner way than Denise. Julie's hands are pretty good for the division, which isn't saying much, as most of the division striking is just okay. Yeah, well, most of the division striking, though, most of the division is strikers over grapplers. I mean, there's only 2 real grapplers in the division. I didn't think her hands were that great. I think she mostly throws looping punches. She throws a straight jab, but everything else she throws is pretty loopy. So, but yeah, Meza-Barba got the win and did the customary Brazil thing that the Brazilian chicks all do, where they. In kickboxing, Jackie Boonton defeated the what's her name, Daniela Lopez, via 3-round decision. 3 rounds? Yeah, 3 rounds. So Jackie Boonton continues to impress. And then in the kickboxing bout, Niza Mexen defeated Christina Morales via TKO in the second round of their scheduled 3-round bout. did very. She's Nissa Mexen. 100 wins to, or well, now 101 wins to 5 losses. She's likely not going to lose anytime soon. Not that Morales is that bad. I mean, she looked pretty good from what I could see, but she's just not on Anissa Mexen's level, which few, if any, people are. So, moving on to the atomweight quarterfinals. Itsuki Hirata defeated Elise Anderson via unanimous decision. Hirata climbed to 5-0. Anderson fell to 5-2. So, about Itsuki. Well, she finally defeated somebody with like a legit good record, which is good. But she's still, honestly, she's still very, very one-dimensional as a fighter, which is not good. I mean, it's working so far, but as she moves in this Grand Prix, it's going to get harder. I mean, she fought someone coming in off of what, a 2-year layoff. Her striking is not good still, and she basically relies on one way to get to the fight to the ground. And lo and behold, she finally faces someone with a good record, and she goes to the decision for the first time. I mean, that's not to say that Itsuki doesn't have skill. She has skill. It's just that it is very much centered in one singular area. And she doesn't do anything really outside of that area. So she really needs to work on her hands. Her defense on the feet is non-existent, which that's a typical Crazy Bee gym thing where she trains out of. She doesn't really go in with an actual game plan other than to close to the clinch and get the toss or the trip to the scarf hold. She doesn't really have a plan B or plan C. She just has plan A without any plan to actually get into plan A. So she's really going to be up against the wall depending on who she faces next. Now, Anderson, lack of fight IQ here. I mean, she just kept on just giving up the clinch to Itsuki. She didn't really fight off of the clinch. Not that it's easy to fight off the clinch against a high-level judoka, but she didn't really try to fight out of the clinch. She didn't really, try to, pummel her way in to gain, underhooks or anything. She just, every time, she just gave up the clinch and then got taken down. I will say one thing about Anderson that I like. She's very creative on the ground. Even when she's in a disadvantageous position, she will find creative ways to get out of it. Like she's very long-bodied. She's very long-legged. And she knows how to use that. For example, if Itsuki was on top of her and Anderson was here underneath her, Anderson would like instinctively take her legs up and just curl them up over and grab Itsuki, and was able to extract herself from trouble positions several times during the fight when on the ground. And now Itsuki was able to adapt well in a number of those situations to get her back where she wanted her. But I thought that was really creative on Anderson's part. You got to know your body. You got to know how to use your body's attributes to your advantage. And that's one thing that I thought Anderson did really well. Also, she started off really well on the feet in the first round with the striking, keeping Hirata at the distance. Did really nice with the jab, but just kept giving up the clinch, letting Itsuki close. And also, I thought as soon as she dropped Itsuki, she should have jumped on top, or she should have backed away and made Itsuki get back up. That was a big mistake in round 3 because she failed to capitalize, and Itsuki just had really good survival instincts to close and get Anderson down to the ground and get in advantageous positions. So Hirata wins via unanimous decision. So Zazakita has a lot of opinions here. Think Hirata needs work on her hands and needs to learn entries for takedowns. Judo throws won't work forever. Also, Elise doesn't know how to use her reach and length. Agreed. Hirata showed she has heart, which I wasn't sure she did. Yeah, she definitely showed heart surviving that flash knockdown. Yeah, she's still 21. Yeah, Crazy B's not a good gym. It's really not. Like, she is the first fighter to win out of Crazy B in a while. Like, this is her first full fight camp at Crazy B. Before, she was like hopping around from gym to gym to gym, which is not popular in Japan. Like, a lot of gyms hate that. They hate fighters that jump around from gym to gym. And but she finally, she started getting the D from Urson Yamamoto. So now she's settled at Crazy B. Crazy B just, they've been downhill for a while now. But she might have turned that around because she got the win. So imagine if she was learning at ATT or Stanford. There's good gyms in Japan too, though. My negatives about Ansa is not using height reach well. Also, how can she keep getting caught by a head and arm choke? Itsuki also has bad habit of ducking to throw a right overhand. That's every grappler's biggest weakness when they learn to strike. They figure out how to throw an overhand right, and they start boom ducking into it to throw it. It landed a couple times, but someone is going to knee her one day. Yeah, her and the subject of the next fight. So the third quarterfinal bout, Ritu Fogate defeated Monbo via unanimous decision. Or no, I'm sorry, this is the second quarterfinal bout. What to say about this one? Monbo really dropped the ball in this one. She had Ritu Fogate hurt, almost had her finished in the first. Chose to go to the ground with her instead of making her stand up. That was mistake number one. Going for that arm bar, mistake number two. Just big mistakes in the first round that kept Monbo from capitalizing. She could have finished Ritu Fogate in the second round. Second round, huge round for Fogate. Huge, big comeback round for Fogate. Was able to get her takedowns in. And getting some good ground and pound. And then it was more the same for round three. Fogate did have, Monbo did have Fogate hurt, if I recall correctly, early in the third. But again, wasn't able to really capitalize on it and allowed Fogate to just work her game. And then once Fogate got her down, Monbo, I don't know what it is about fighters out of China. They've had BJJ over there long enough that they should know what to do when they get taken down. For one thing, they should have better takedown defense than they do. For another thing, the fighters out of China should know what to do on their back to be able to work their way to the cage and get back up. Monbo just really seriously lacked that today. Totally outclassed Ritu Fogate on the feet. Ritu's stand-up is still atrocious. It is still like novice level striking. And she's getting by purely on wrestling. And like Zazakita mentioned with Itsuki Hirata, Fogate, every time she throws, it's almost always just a big naked overhand right. And what is she doing? Ducking down to throw it. She's going to get kneed or she's going to get kicked hard. And she is going to go down when that happens. For me, the jury is still out on Ritu Fogate. Big win here. Big upset. But the jury is still out. I cannot get behind totally one-dimensional fighters like this just because they get a couple wins. I mean, and she's still the girl that lost to B. Nguyen like 6 months ago. It's just that Monbo wasn't able to. I will say this, though. Ritu improved her cardio. I mean, she didn't gas out in the third round like she did against B. But of course, Ritu wasn't really like all over her in the third the way B. Nguyen was. Like B. Nguyen was all over Ritu in the third with the striking. Didn't really give Ritu a chance to work her wrestling game in the third, whereas Monbo did. and Mumbo paid for that badly. So big upset here. But man, I gotta say something. For all the Fogate fans out here, and I got them all over the comments for my preview video for this fight. Yo, y'all did not win this fight, okay? You didn't win anything. Stop acting like you did, okay? Yes, I got the pick wrong. Guess what? You make a fight pick, it is 50-50. I did 50-50 on my fight picks for this event overall. It happens. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. But guess what? I don't care that I got it wrong. I really don't care. I only make fight picks because if I don't, then I get a million comments in each preview video asking, well, who's your pick to win? Who's your pick to win? If I don't make a pick, people complain. If I make a pick, people complain that I don't pick their fighter. And if I get it wrong, you get a million people coming in saying, oh, you got it wrong. And now I got like 50,000 Indian fans in here acting like, oh, they won the fighters. Like they won something. Like somehow they won. Get over yourselves, guys. Get over yourselves. Zazakita, Ritu has lots of heart as well. Mumbo IQ should be considered suspect. I agree. This was, yeah. The two biggest examples of bad fight IQ in this event were Elise and Mumbo. I think going for the armbar was some weird way of trying to hurt a grappler's pride. I think, yeah, it could be a mix of that, but I think it's also a mixture of, you know, she saw an opportunity to finish and go for it, but it's also like a matter of a striker wanting to show that she can finish in more ways than just striking. Says Kita also says Ritu needs work on stand-up like Hirata, but her ground game is much more deadly. That's one really positive about Ritu today. She was relentless and her cardio was decent. I wouldn't say her ground game is more deadly than Hirata's. I think she's more effective as far as like the ground and pound goes, but I wouldn't say she's more deadly. I think their finishing rate is roughly the same. Let me look it up here. So Fogate has 6 wins with 3 finishes. Hirata has 5 wins with 4 finishes. So if anything, I'd say Hirata's the deadlier fighter on the ground. So, but yeah, Ritu Fogate got the win. Then we move on to the big rematch. First of 2 contentious decisions on this card. Stamp Fairtex defeated Aliano Rasohina via split decision to win the rematch. Fairtex climbed to 6-1. Rasohina fell to 13-5. I'll tell you what, these two are just really closely matched. You know, they're like, you know, the whole narrative was like, oh, Stamp was winning every second of the first fight. And it's like, no, she wasn't dominating. I mean, she was ahead, but I don't understand people saying that, you know, Stamp was dominating the first fight up until the tap out. I mean, was she winning? Yes. Was she dominating? No. And in fact, in this fight, she was even less dominant. While actually showing more improvement, she was less dominant. This was a really good fight. This is probably the best fight on the entire card because there was a lot of back and forth action. Both fighters threatened with submissions. Both fighters did really well on their feet. Rasohina's, you know, people look at her record, they see all the arm bars and think, oh, she's just a submission specialist. But her striking, I think, is really underrated. She does a lot to shut down a lot of Stamp's offense. Like, Stamp doesn't get nearly as many kicks in against Rasohina as she does against other fighters. Rasohina is really good to keep her leg out, her lead leg out from getting kicked by Stamp. And just lands really, her punching is really accurate. I mean, it's not the cleanest, most polished striking, but I think but it's definitely very underrated. Like I said, both fighters threatened with submissions. Stamp, I think, was the closest to finishing possibly with the rear naked in the third. Or no, I'm sorry, the first. But, you know, Rasohina had a really tight armbar at one point, and she threatened with some submissions as well. Like I said, these two are just matched up really well. I definitely see a trilogy fight happening at some point in the future. 1-1 now. I mean, I'd definitely be down for the trilogy fight after the Grand Prix is over, or after Stamp is eliminated, whichever comes first. I'd definitely be down for that one. Like I said, these two are just really evenly matched. Stamp, her ground game keeps getting better. She's willing to test it out. It's risky, but it seems to, you know, be paying off for her. Got caught in that guillotine in the first round again, though. Can't be doing that. Can't be getting caught in that guillotine. Had Rasohina been able to jump guard like she was trying to do, she could have finished it. But nice effort there by Stamp. She gets this split nod. So Zazakita has something to say. By the way, guys, I see there's 9 of you. Don't forget to hit the like button. Get the algorithm going. And also, the chat is open. So feel free to leave comments, opinions, compliments, gripes, complaints, whatever. The chat is wide open for conversation. Fourth opinion, Stamp was too willing to engage on the ground, questionable IQ. Personally wasn't too upset either way. Stamp's ground game is decent. Aliona's striking is decent as well. Both have improved. I wouldn't call Stamp's IQ questionable. I mean, she came really close to getting the rear naked choke. So is she too willing to engage on the ground with a submission specialist? Yeah, and it hurt her in the first fight. But you know, you can't know if you're improving on these things until you actually do them in a fight. So I wouldn't say it's questionable fight IQ. I would just say it was ill-advised. But I mean, she's definitely rounding out out of say like the three or four of the homegrown one fighters. You know, 3 of them are one-dimensional or started out one-dimensional in Ritu, Itsuki, and Stamp. And Stamp has come the farthest in rounding out her game, because you can teach any wrestler to throw an overhand right, or any, you know, judoka or BJJ player to throw an overhand right. It is a lot harder and takes a lot more time for someone to come in from a pure striking background and learn grappling to the point where in their 5th, 6th fight, they are able to hold off a submission specialist like Rasohina, who just collects arms for a living. Well, yeah, you don't always want to go towards your opponent's strength. Zazakiza says, I think she is too willing to go toward her opponent's strengths. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, I agree. You know, you want to keep the fight in where you're strongest. But it's not like, I don't think it was so much she was too willing to go to the ground. It's Rasohina's takedowns are decent. I mean, certainly good enough to get Stamp down. And then Stamp was willing to stay there. So moving on to the 4th and final of the Atomweight Grand Prix quarterfinal bouts, and by far the most contentious. So much salt online after this one. Here's Stamp, got the win. Sahi Ham defeated Denise Zamboanga via split decision. After 3 rounds, Ham climbed to 24-8. Zamboanga fell to 8-1. Man, there was so many pissed off Filipinos online since this fight ended. Really contentious split decision. I saw it going either way. Towards the end, it went to Ham's. And it could have gone either way. And I've been like, cool, good. I mean, as a Ham fan, I was happy. As someone who thinks Zamboanga has a really bright future, it was disappointing to see her lose like that. And she took it, man, she took it really hard too. But you can't just allow a fight to be this close all the time. You really can't. I think both fighters let it get way too close. I think Ham should have thrown more. Ham definitely should have thrown more. She was very low volume in this fight. She was accurate with her striking, but she was low volume and just really looking to set up the left hand a little too much. Way too much, honestly, if I'm being honest. Whereas Zamboanga really didn't do much with anything she had. She wasn't landing from the outside when Ham was keeping her on the outside. When she got to the clinch, it was fairly even in the clinch. I mean, she had the control, but control with not much of anything is not going to score in one's scoring. And it's the same thing with takedowns. Getting a quick takedown at the end of the round is not going to win you get ahead at the end of that round. Getting a takedown where your opponent gets right back up within, 10 seconds also is not going to score very well for you. You got to get a takedown, you got to secure it, and you actually have to do something with it. Denise wasn't able to do that until the third round. And even then, and this is going to be the most contentious, yes, Denise got that takedown fairly easily in the third because Ham was not expecting it. It was, I mean, the referee said fight, and Denise just was like, boom, exploded into the takedown, got the slam down. But then what was she really doing afterwards? She wasn't that active on top. She wasn't working to pass the guard. She wasn't throwing a lot of ground and pound. Ham was just as active on bottom as Denise was on top. So who comes out ahead there? Yeah, Denise got the takedown, but what was she doing afterwards? She was mostly just trying to push Ham to the fence and stack her up. Was she landing big shots from on top? No, she was landing small, like little hammer fists. But guess what? Ham was throwing slaps, hammer fists, and elbows from the bottom. So from there, it was mostly fairly even. So it came to who was doing the more consistent work throughout the fight or who was landing the harder shots overall. So two of the judges saw it for Ham, one saw it for Denise. People are going to be talking about this one for a while. I could definitely see a rematch ahead in the future. Denise wants them to review this fight and see about overturning it. I really doubt that's going to happen with the Grand Prix. And I mean, do you really want to win that way? Do you really want to win via having your decision overturned by a panel? I don't think so. Zazakita says, fifth opinion, salty fight for sure. I think Denise got that takedown really easily in the third round. She should have done that since round one. Too much cage stalling. Yeah, that's really all she was doing was in the clinch was stalling. Ham should have had more volume and shouldn't have let Denise hold her against the cage. Ham too comfortable waiting on a cage. Yeah, that's been a weakness of hers for a long time. Arnaud Lapont, the game, one championship veteran in the chat, everyone. If you're not familiar with Arnaud Lapont, like I said, he's a one championship veteran, has the best walkouts by far in the history of one. Every single walkout was entertaining, had a theme, really great, and not the biggest fan of one championship anymore. What I understand. But Arnaud, welcome. Oh, I missed one by him. You got the Indian fans on your back. Now you will have the fans from the Philippines. Yeah, I'm going to have some angry Filipinos on my back. Oh, well. Praisab Kumar says, I'm not Filipino, and I'm pissed too at the judgment of Denise versus Ham. Also, lots of fans treat one fights as if this was in the UFC, says Zazakita. Scoring round by round. One championship doesn't value grappling without ground and pound. Yes. Yes, very important, because I saw it when I was watching the playback of the fights. The chat was going down from the live stream, and people were saying, "Oh, I have a two rounds to one for whoever." The rounds don't matter here, okay? I'm trying to get a more concise instruction on the rules here and the judging criteria, because I want to dedicate like a full video to that. But let me throw this up on the screen here real quick. This is at 1fc.com/martial arts. I gotta take this one down. Okay. Ways to win. A victory is attained by one of the following ways: knockout, submission, verbal tap out, technical knockout by referee stoppage, athlete's cornerman requests a stoppage, and decision. In decision wins. In the event a bout goes to the distance, it will go to a judge's decision. The 3 judges will score the bout in its entirety, not round by round. Okay? So it's not the 10-point must system. You can't just go, well, she won 2 rounds to 1. It doesn't matter. You could win the first round and do so much in that first round that you win the whole fight. You lose the first 2 rounds and do really well in the third, get a big finish, and win the belt that way. So the fight is judged in its entirety. Judges will utilize the 1 judging criteria in descending order of importance to determine the winner of the bout. Here's the criteria. Now, as it said, descending order: near KO or submission, damage, internal, accumulated, superficial, striking combinations, and cage generalship, ground control, superior positioning. Notice how that's like third one down. Earned takedowns or takedown defense. Notice how this is important here, because in the West, in the 10-point must system, in the unified rules, takedown defense is not graded at all. Takedown defense or defense period is considered a reward in and of itself. Whereas here at 1, they value the takedown defense equally as the takedowns. And then aggression is last. So you might be the more aggressive fighter, but that doesn't mean you're ahead. So yeah, I think a lot of fans and a lot of the fighters in 1 don't really understand the criteria either. Art De La Cruz says, you're discrediting Denise's stand-up a bit, in my opinion. She landed some, albeit less than Ham. I disagree with stalling. No, there was some stalling. In fact, the referee broke it up at one point, if I remember correctly. But I mean, Denise's striking is okay. She landed some right hands, but Ham landed her left more, and she landed it harder. I didn't say it was all stalling, but there was stalling. Says Zazakita, I guess, responding to Arik De La Cruz. Praysob says, by putting the number 1 seed against Ham, 1 tried to eliminate Denise. That was clear now. That is one conspiracy. The other conspiracy, though, is that if Denise beat Ham, she beat arguably the number 1 fighter in the world. And guess what? And then, because if if Denise beat Ham, she beat the man who beat the other man in Ayaka Hamasaki, who was the Rising champ. And those are like the 2 top atom weights in the world at actual atom weights. You know, like 105 for atom weight, 108 for super atom weight. Not this 115 mess that 1 has that confuses the hell out of everybody. So if Denise beat Ham, then she beat the man that beat the man, because Ayaka Hamasaki was the true number 1 atom weight in the world for a long time. So they were really giving her a big chance here. Also, 1 Championship did not really give Ham's achievements any credit going into this fight. I mean, they just did not. When Ham was making her way to the cage, I almost had a stroke listening to the commentary, because Michael Schiavello, the voice, he of the same 3 or 4 catchphrases, said Sahi Ham finally has a chance to prove that she is among the best in the world at atomweight. I almost had a freaking stroke because I was so mad when he said that. It's like, Ham is the best atomweight in the world, period, coming into this tournament. And one did nothing to try to promote her. And then the freaking play-by-play commentator totally credited her as she was making her walkout. So I don't think one tried to eliminate Denise. I think they tried to give her a big chance to beat a huge fighter with a really great record and a lot of credentials. Just came up short. Zezakita says Denise wanted the hardest fight. And then in her post-fight interview, she low-key threw shade saying Denise didn't know the one championship rules. I wouldn't say she threw shade. Ham doesn't do a lot of interviews that get translated to English, but everyone I've seen, she is just like very matter of fact, and she's very confident from years of fighting. So she just said, listen, I knew the rule set even before I got here, because the rules for one championship are the same as the rules in Ryzen, minus the soccer kicks and stomps that are allowed in Ryzen. They're banned in one championship. So she came in, she didn't even have to study the rules. Newcomers to one championship, they have to study the rules because a lot of other places, they don't allow knees to a grounded opponent. They don't have the whole fight scoring. So a lot of fighters don't know. I mean, Ham knew these rules, having fought by this rule set a lot in Japan over the years. Because you got to remember, over half of her career was fought inside Japan. So she knows these rules back to back. And if you know the scoring criteria, that helps you to win the fight. A lot of the best point fighters know the rules back to back. That's how they get away winning points fights. It's harder to win the whole fight. It's harder to win a point fight in this type of scoring set, but point fighters can still do it. In the 10-point must system and the unified rules, like in the West, you can really utilize those rules to win, point fights. And a lot of fighters have made a whole career of point fighting, winning, just getting by on points. And but yeah, Ham came in, she understood the rules very well. And she didn't just tell that to Denise. She straight up told the media members, like, go study the rules. Arnaud Lapointe said, thanks for the kind words. Denise was number one. What do you think is next for her? Should they do a Mumbo Denise to have the winner a chance to be back in the tournament? That's a good idea. They could do that to have another alternate bout, fight to get your way back in. That's a good idea. Mumbo versus Denise would give a chance to get the other fighter back a win. I think no matter what, as long as Denise doesn't lose anymore, she's going to get her chance at Angela Lee anyway. That they were really building up that chance for Denise to fight Angela Lee. That was like one of the big storylines, narratives going into this tournament was, Denise had talked a lot of smack and already thought she had done enough. And they had the whole back and forth with her and Angela. Now that's over. It's like, well, that whole narrative is gone. Whereas had Denise won, that could have kept going. She would have been like, 1 down, 2 to go, Angela. See you soon. Stuff like that. So I certainly don't think that one wanted Ham to win. I think they signed Ham and threw a bunch of money at her in order for her to lose to help make the homegrown one fighters look better. Because here's another example, since I was talking about Michael Schiavello. I watched the SCMP MMA preview the other night, and Michael Schiavello was a guest. And his 4 fighters he picked to win the Grand Prix were the 4 homegrown one fighters: Stamp, Ritu, Itsuki, and Denise. He didn't pick Mumbo, who had made her name outside of one. He didn't pick Ham, who had made her name outside of one. He didn't pick Elise, who is known to outside of one. She's more known in North America because of Invicta, but is unknown to the One Championship casuals. And he didn't pick Aliona, who had finished Stamp in the first fight. In fact, he said Rasohina had been dominated the entire fight in the first fight. The entire time she was being dominated by Stamp. So, yeah, the big narrative here being driven by the company shills was in favor of the 4 homegrown fighters. Denise versus Monbo could be fun. I agree. Malik Burchett, welcome Malik, welcome back. Didn't they say Ham has a chance to prove herself on a global stage as if Ham didn't fight in the UFC? Yeah, as if she didn't fight in the UFC, as if she didn't fight in Japan a lot, as if she didn't fight in her home country of Korea. I mean, they just really tried to discredit her a lot, which made a lot of people mad. Like, it seemed like really split going into this event, that there were like the One Championship casuals who thought Denise was going to run away with the fight, and then you had the hardcore MMA, like the really hardcore MMA guys that knew Ham from before the UFC, after the UFC, and thought that she was the rightful favorite. And then it ended up being super close. So, I mean, hats off to Denise. She did really well in this fight. Everyone that knows that Ham is a 105er, every struggle she had is at 115, which this fight was. And yeah, they said she would fight Angela one day, even if it's not for a belt. Yeah, that fight's going to get made. Too much juicy gossip for it to not get made. Because let me show you guys something here real quick. I'll pull this over for you guys to take a look at. So this is my channel page here. Popular uploads. This video I made this last year in like May. It says Angela Lee versus Denise Zamboanga next in 1 ? 115,000 views since this video was made. My next most viewed fight was talking about Stamp versus Itsuki, and that has 25,000 views. Both videos talking about possible fights that weren't even made and were only being talked about. And this one, huge views. This is my #1 most viewed video ever. Also, when I look at my most popular videos by views month by month, every 28 days, this video right here is #1. So that fight is going to get made no matter what. So, go through a few more comments, and then I want to get back and finish the thing. I thought it was funny that Denise fans were saying she should go to the UFC, thinking the UFC is going to treat her well. The UFC doesn't care about a random unranked girl. The UFC doesn't really care about anybody unless they can guarantee eyes. And right now, the UFC isn't even looking at the Philippines. Elise should fight against Aliona. Ooh, that'd be a good fight. That'd be a very good fight. Good idea. I got to write that down for a fight to make. Good idea, Zazakita. Yeah, match up the losers together. That's often what gets done. That's how the UFC likes to do it. Arnaud says, agree with Zazakita. Denise is a big draw. She knows how to sell fights. She has a big heart. She has a massive fan base. I think giving Bo Denise another chance would be a win-win. Yeah, I agree. It's a very good fight. Denise does have, I don't know how big it is. I know it's a very vocal fan base. So, yeah, I think that'd be a very good fight to make between her and Monbo, and then Elise versus Aliona. Granted, you don't want to see fighters take 2 losses in a row. but sometimes it just has to happen. So, yeah, those four matched up against any of the others would be really good. So, final fight of the evening. The Women's Strawweight World Championship, Strawweight in one championship being 125 pounds. Jingnan defeated Michelle Nicolini via unanimous decision. And I'll tell you what, I thought that Nicolini would have Sion in trouble early in the fight, and then Sion would have to be in survival mode the first 2 rounds. But Sion really surprised me here. She did not, other than like one really big scare where Nicolini was on her back, Sion really didn't give Michelle any chances. Even any time it was on the ground, Sion was doing really good defense and getting back to her feet, and then just picking her apart on the feet. And Nicolini just had no chance against Sion on the feet, which I already figured, but I figured she'd at least try a little bit harder. And then she was just trying to go for guard pulls or ankle dives and just couldn't really get anything going from early in the fight. And then by towards the later rounds, the championship rounds, it was obvious. Nicolini had nothing for Sion. Just really great effort there by Sion Jingnan, who retained her title and really put a hurting on Nicolini. And Sion, I'll tell you what, she is an absolute ice queen. She just seems like when she pre-fight build up, no emotions. She just speaks matter-of-factly, like, yes, I have to go out and do this. I have to win. I have to do it for China. I have to represent my country. I have to fight for my family. And she just says it all with a straight face. And then she goes out there and fights, and she just has a blank look on her face the entire time. Like, I mean, she gets like aggressive, like when she's striking. But for the most part, like, she doesn't get frustrated. She doesn't, get over eager in fights. She doesn't panic. It's like she has ice water in her veins. It's like before the fight, she goes and gets what's that machine called? Dialysis. Except instead of flowing her blood through, it's like flowing ice water back into her veins. It's the way she fights is amazing to watch because she just does it with efficiency. And does she make mistakes sometimes? Yeah, sure. And is she like an absolutely just phenomenal all-around fighter? No, she's still primarily a striker, but she is a striker that knows her limits on the ground, knows how to defend well, and just gets it done. Like, she is the classic striker who, like, almost like a prototypical, like, Maurice Smith type striker, where she can defend the takedowns well enough, she can defend against the submissions well enough to get back to her feet and continue doing what she does best. Whereas Nicolini just came in and looked totally one-dimensional in his fight. It just did not look good at all. And that's not taken away from Sion. Nicolini didn't look good because Sion made her look bad. I mean, Nicolini did really well against Angela Lee, and she did well against Tiffany Teo in the early goings before she faded. Whereas here, Sion didn't allow her to look good even in the early goings when Nicolini tends to do really well. Now, this is just an absolute shutout by Sion. Like, domination? No, but a shutout for sure. Let's see. Zazakita says, I actually like Anderson, even though I was rooting for Hirata. Yeah, I was rooting for Anderson, and I picked Hirata. I knew that long layoff was going to hurt Anderson. I think when she learns to use her strengths, height, and reach, she can be a serious contender. Definitely. She just doesn't know how to use it. Zazakita says, I'm surprised Angela Lee did better against Sion than Nicolini. Even the first fight Lee lost, she put up a better fight. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, Angela has better takedowns. And yeah, Angela Lee has better takedowns. She's more aggressive, and her striking is better. Is her striking on the same level as Sion? No. But it is better than Nicolini's, and she's not afraid to stand and strike. And she has just that big head that has a chin made of granite that allows her to just eat shots. I mean, Angela has like zero striking defense. She just takes shots and keeps coming forward. And that helps her a lot. Peter Lee, you can do whatever. You can say whatever you want about the fighters. You can have whatever opinion you want. But when you come in here seeking to insult myself or other people in this chat, guess what? You're getting put on timeout. Keep it up, and you'll go on and you'll go on the block list for a while. Which for me, there's only one person permanently blocked. For me, a block is more like a week to a month timeout. Keep it civil. Do not seek to insult me. Do not seek to insult anyone else in my chat. That's all I ask. Oh, and don't be racist. That's a big thing too. Don't bring race into this. But if you can't come and do that, Peter Lee, then you can stay on timeout. Ori Bagalore says Denise clearly won, while clearly the judges disagreed. Also says 100% Zamboanga won. It was more like 60 to 30 or 66 to 33. Cooking show, robbed. What does cooking show mean? I have no idea. Like I've heard, fighting like martial art, like boxing and stuff. They say, well, let's cook on this. And that means just to discuss stuff. But I don't know what he means by it. Yeah, I don't know. Judy B, what's up? I was going to put him on timeout, but Best thought best you do it. Well, yeah, if someone's going to say something, that is my rule for moderators, Judy, is if someone says something insulting or insinuating something that would be insulting, then yeah, go ahead and time them out. Purple Donatello, welcome. I ain't seen you in a while. Says, hello, scene. I might have to watch this in replay. I highly recommend watching this in replay. It's up on YouTube. The full show is on Bleacher Report. If you're in the U.S., if you're outside, I think you can watch it on one's YouTube page. Have to see. But if not, if you have a VPN, you can use VPN to watch it. But yeah. So Sion Jingnan gets it done. So the 4 semifinalists. Let me see if I can bring up a picture real quick here. See if I can find it. Oh, that was a link apparently. Yep, that was a link. Let me see if I can find this picture here. Seriously, one? Also, I hate trying to scroll through Twitter for stuff. All right, here's a tweet I can use. Oh, if you're on Twitter, by the way, go follow this account @_Sugi2009. Primarily focuses on the women's MMA and women's kickboxing, particularly in Asia. but she is a must follow on Twitter if you're there. Oh. So your 4 semifinalists, you got Sahi Ham, Itsuki Hirata, Ritu Fogate, and Stamp Fairtex. And the craziest part is the fans get to vote on it. So you got to go to 1fc.com/vote, and they let you pick out of the 4 possible matchups. Is it 6? I guess 4. They let you pick who you would like to see fight, and then they take your information down. I think they might only limit it to 1, but maybe they'll let you vote multiple times. I don't know, but they definitely take down they ask for your email, so maybe they only let you vote once. So the fans get to decide who they want to see face each other. Do you want a grappler versus grappler battle with Itsuki versus Meng? Itsuki versus Ritu? Do you want a striker versus striker battle with Ham versus Stamp? Do you want to see striker face a grappler and striker faces grappler? You could guarantee 2 strikers in the final or 2 grapplers in the final that way. It all depends on what the fans overall want to see. Personally, I hate these kind of votings because I never get to see the types of fights I want to see, because it all just comes down to who's most popular, and then the people vote for them versus the fighter they don't like, or the fighter that they think is going to be the easiest fighter for their favorite fighter to beat. For me, I vote for the most interesting matchups. I would like to see a grappler and a striker face off in the finals, keep that classic rivalry going. So I voted Ham versus Stamp and Ritu versus Itsuki, because then you get 2 grapplers versus each other and 2 strikers versus each other, and then either way, you are guaranteed a striker versus grappler battle. Also, if you're one championship, that guarantees that one of your 2, homegrown superstars in Itsuki and Ritu get to go to the finals. So yeah, I voted Ham versus Stamp and Ritu versus Itsuki. And I want to see the stand-up battle between Ham and Stamp. I think Stamp is more well-rounded as a striker, but Ham is really good at shutting down other strikers' striking games. And people look at Ham and think, well, all she does is set up that left hand. She can do a lot more than that. So let's look at the chat some more. I already saw that. Yeah. Do you have any semifinal matchups you would like? So yeah, like I said, Ham versus Stamp and Itsuki versus Ritu. Yeah. Yes. Remember, the fans get to vote on semifinals. 1fc.com/vote. Zamboanga should use straight line punching like she did against May. Yeah, she used straight line punching really well against May. And that works best against a fighter who throws nothing but overhands like May does. Against someone who can throw much more polished, you gotta switch it up more. So Zakita says, I kind of want to get strikers and grapplers, find out who is best. Stamp versus Ham and Hirata versus... Yeah, so same as me. Orly says, Zamboanga, Denise, 100% true win. That is your opinion, and you are welcome to it. Judy B says, I think Stomp versus Ham, Stomp wins. She very well could. I mean, Stomp is very dangerous on the feet, and her ground game is coming along nicely. Ritu is rigid, durable. Keita says, also when 2 grapplers go against each other, it's usually a barn burn. It can be. Excuse me. I can't get rid of this itchy throat. The thing is, when you get 2 really good grapplers against each other, it can also turn into a really boring kickboxing bout. It's like 50-50 sometimes. Orly, not going to give it up. There's a key to correcting himself with barn burner. So that is it for one Empower. So it is 11 a.m. on the East Coast, and about an hour from now, we have. Let me go to my back to my weekend preview here, because we got more fights coming up tonight / tomorrow morning into tomorrow evening. That's not what I wanted. This is not doing what I want it to do. There we go. So on Combate, which starts in about an hour from now, if you can watch it in the U.S. I'm not sure how it's available outside the U.S. If you have Univision, Jade Duran taking on Alejandra Barrios. I think that's her name. Let me check. Combate. Gloria Bravo Barrios. Gloria Barrios. That fight's at 110 pounds. Durand on the left there, Barrios on the right. Then early tomorrow morning, we have Deep Jewels 34, an all-ladies event going down in Japan. And there's some good bouts on there. If you want to see some big girls fight, we got a ladies lightweight bout in Taya versus Po Chan Z. We got a microweight bout, 97 pounds, between Aya Murakami and Kyoka Chibasai. So you got something for the guys that like want to see bigger girls fight, and you got something for the guys that want to see, or the fans rather, that want to see like the tiny girls fight. Now I'm talking tiny. You think the atom weights that fought today are little? Wait till you see these girls. These ladies, I should say. Ero Takebayashi is a nice young prospect to keep an eye on. We got the tag team grappling bout. These are always fun. It's going to be, how they decide who they're going to match up with is almost as fun as watching the grappling bout itself, because they're going to play rock, paper, scissors, shoot to decide their partners. If you think Itsuki is cute, got to check out Kate Lotus. And then the main event here is not a bad fight either. Not the greatest, but not bad. And then around that same time, over in South Korea, and this should be available free on YouTube, or if not YouTube, then africatv.com, AFREECA TV.com. Road FC 59 has 2 ladies bouts. We got a 53 kilogram catchweight bout. 16, 17-year-old Shin Yu-jin taking on Lee Eun-jung. Two young, relatively inexperienced fighters taking each other on. Yu-jin is like, 16, 17 years old, undefeated at 3-0. So keep an eye on this young prospect here. And then we have the vacant atomweight championship. Park Jun-un versus Shim Yu-ri in a rematch from December of 2019. And this atomweight belt that they are fighting for was formerly held by Sahi Han. So a lot of honor going into winning this belt. Let me see if I can find the face-off picture here real quick. See all. Okay. So you got Park Jun-un taking on Yuri Shim, who is also, Shim is the tallest active atomweight at 5 feet 6 inches. She's an inch taller than Elise Anderson. And we all saw how tall and long Elise is. And they are fighting for that beautiful rose gold belt that was once held by Sahi Ham. Ham defeated the then Deep Jewels champ, whose name I forget. I can never remember her name. Via TKO to win that belt. It was vacant at the time, and then she defended it twice, including against Jinyu Fry, who's now in the UFC. And then her final defense was against Park here. But these two fought just under 2 years ago, with Park here coming out ahead via TKO in the second round. Very much looking forward to this rematch. It was an interesting fight to watch the first time. Then I think this fight will be available for free. I think if you go to UAEwarriors.com, this is a flyweight bout. Corinne Laframboise taking on Ellen Auberg. And UAE Warriors is a high-quality show. And then closing out for the ladies this weekend will be Ji-Yeon Kim versus Molly McCann tomorrow night in the UFC. Flyweight bout. Both fighters made weight. Looking forward to this one. Big fan of both of these girls. They both come in to scrap. Both fighters are coming in to put on a show here and show that they not only do they belong, but they've worked a lot on their game and have made a lot of improvements. So really looking forward to that bout as well. Orly says, replay the fight of Zamboanga versus Ham. Clearly 100% Denise won. I think, well, like I said, that is your opinion. I've watched the fight twice so far. I'll probably watch it a third time tomorrow to make a review on it. Like I said, it could have gone either way. 2 judges to none to 1 saw it for Ham. So, got to get over it. Oh, that's a message. All right, so that's it. Didn't want to go. You know me. I don't like to keep these live streams too long. An hour is usually enough. But yeah, I thought One in Power overall was a good show. You know what? I do want to show you guys one final thing here. I thought I wrote up my thoughts on this overall event pretty darn well. Let me pull this up. I made a post here on the Sherdog forums. Let me enlarge this. So this was a post made by, or I responded to a post made by Special Agent Fox Mulder. He posted this on Tuesday. I forgot to respond to it until today. He said, so a Tuesday discussion starter. We have had some good all-female cards from Invicta. Some other promotions have events like Deep Jewels that typically don't get as much publicity. He's darn right about that one. Where do you guys rank this week's One in Power card in terms of notable, big, etc., all-female cards? Was going to say MMA, but there are a couple of non-MMA fights as well. Do you think it's the biggest? A cool distraction, but not so much. Just interested in folks' opinion. Have a great day, everyone. So my response was, been thinking about this since you posted it. It's a big and super important event in that a large, truly worldwide reaching promotion gave the ladies a chance to shine on their own. The importance of this cannot be overstated. Do I think these should become a regular thing? Definitely not. I'm perfectly okay with integrated events for the big promotions. Maybe once a year would be nice. Road FC in Korea puts on their double X all ladies events once a year in a smaller venue, and they do well enough. As for star power, strength of lineup, very debatable. I would rate some of the earlier Invicta events higher, and some Deep Jewels, and Smack Girl events higher as well. I should clarify that I'd have to actually go back and really look at them, though, to really decide and where they would place. But the fighters in this event are largely still untested. Fogate and Hirata have faced nothing but stylistically favorable matchups. Zamboanga has had 2 step-up fights, won one, lost one. Only 3 opponents total with wins on their record. Stamp is 1-1 with her best opponent, which would be Aliona Rasohina. Home was the best fighter going into this Grand Prix by far, which definitely most experienced as well. Sion is hella fun to watch, but her talent level is hard to gauge. For star power itself, hard to say. This forum and even this thread are Western-centric. Most would underestimate the fan base some of these fighters have. I put Hirata as like the PVZ of Japan. Huge social media presence because of her looks and antics. Will she crash and burn like PVZ? I doubt it, as she has legit talent, but like PVZ is getting by so far on one thing. Which for Hirata, she actually has skills. It's just that she's mostly that one-trick pony. Whereas PVZ, her biggest attribute was that she was super aggressive. Fogate comes from a legitimately famous family in India. Dangal, the film about her family, is the highest grossing Indian film ever, if I recall correctly. Denise has a metric shit ton of Filipino fans behind her and salty as hell about her loss. Said overall, the event was enjoyable, and that's what matters most. Although big viewer numbers would certainly help, which will never going to get, concise viewership numbers out of one. So those overall are my thoughts on the event. Like I said, I was very pleased with how it overall went. I would have liked to see more finishes. I mean, all decisions isn't that great, but when fighters are matched up really well, you're not going to get finishes. Or when you're giving fighters their biggest step-ups in competition yet, they might not get the finish. And so far, Ritu had her biggest step-up by far. Itsuki had her biggest step-up by far, and Denise had her biggest step-up by far. Aliona was already Stamp's biggest step-up. Lost the first time and went to a split the second time. But yeah, overall, I thought the event did really well. And I'm very pleased with how it went. And do I think one championship should make this like a regular thing, the all ladies bouts events? No. Because you're always going to have a good segment of fans that are going to dunk on it no matter what. Good segment of fans that do not want to watch an all ladies event. So I wouldn't make it a regular thing. And like I said, I like the integrated events better. You get the ladies shining right next to the men. Let's see. The Brother Man is in the building. Judy B says, thanks, good night, everyone. And she also says, the brother, hope all good well with you. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on the event. I thought it was a good event. I was very pleased. Would have liked more finishes, but you're not always going to get finishes when you have really good fights that are really matched up and mesh well together. You're just not. It happens. But there was some controversy, which is always fun. We had some good storylines going into this, and we have some good storylines coming out. So, and hey, one championship is doing something genuinely different in that they're allowing the fans to vote on the semifinal matchups. So, yeah, a lot to talk about moving forward from this. I'm really excited about what the future brings. And Chatri Sityotam said in an interview the other day, he wants to finish this up in December. So it's early September right now, beginning of September. So you got October, November, December. That's 3 months to get 3 fights in. 4, depending if they go to late December for the final, then roughly 4 months. That is not a lot of time to get 3 fights in. Man, these ladies are going to have to work really hard to stay healthy. They can't overtrain too much. They got to be careful in practice to not get injured. And they got to come through all 3 fights unscathed. And then they're going to want them to face Angela sometime early in the spring. That's going to be 4 fights in probably 6-7 months. That is a lot of fighting. I'll tell you what, Angela might be coming off a really long layoff, but she's coming back to face a fighter who could very well be worn out. So that could mean very favorable odds for Angela. Plus, I think she's going to be bigger than anybody she ends up facing. Whoever the tournament final is, Angela's going to be much bigger. So a lot of good storylines. Also, Jingnan, who did they find for her? You know, she mentioned she'd like to face Ayaka Miura next because she's next in line down the rankings. I think that'd be a fun one. Ayaka Miura is like a slightly bigger version of Itsuki. You know, very much a specialist one-trick pony. She's going to have a hard time against Sion. But that's who they match her up with. And, you know, Sion also said she hopes that ONE Championship starts signing new blood. She wants to face some new blood. And I have an idea who I'd like to see face against her. I think it'd be a very good one. I don't want to say here, but I think it's a good idea. And it'd be a very fun striker versus striker battle, primarily in the fisticuffs department. So we'll have to see. I mean, it'd be my idea, but we'll see. Malik Burchett, that's old Bellator schedule. Yeah, Bellator used to do that with their seasons, where you'd fight like 3 times in 3 months or 3 times in 6 months, and then you'd the next season you'd face the champion. It was a lot of fun when Bellator did it, but it wears you out. It really wears you out fast. All right, so those are my thoughts. I actually went over an hour. So if you're still watching, if you haven't yet, please hit that like button. Share the stream as well. I forgot to share this to Twitter, but oh well. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And hey, if you're watching and you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe to WMMA now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live. Thank you to everyone watching on playback. And we'll see you Sunday night for the whole weekend recap. Also, hope to have some fight reviews videos done by then. But we'll see you. If not, then we'll see you Sunday night. Have a good night, everyone.